All right, y'all can hear me. I see that in the Q&A. So we're going to go ahead and get started. So let me go ahead and get my screen shared. We're going to go with this one here. All right, so I have the Q&A open. So if there's an issue, please just put it in the Q&A. And then I'll know to address it from there. So yeah. So we're going to go with this one here. So here's the bit.ly for the session. Feel free to grab that link. It's scaffolding underscore with underscore Canva. I had my screen set up over here when I was in the backstage. So let me get a couple things set up here real quick. All right, I think we is good now. All right, so I'm gonna go get started. If there's an issue, someone please let me know. My name is Kalo Haslam. I am a tech facilitator in Harnett County, North Carolina. So shout out to all the North Carolina people here. This is using Canva to scaffold learning experiences. Um, so I'm a Canvassator. I'm a tech facilitator, former science teacher, and so yeah, so we're going to be using Canva, but we're also going to be using Curie Live. So I am going to go to the next slide here. If you can please join this Curie Live right here. The join code is 38549. I'll leave this up for a second. You go to curie.live. If you're good at switching between tabs, then go ahead and just use it in your browser. If not, then just grab your phone and then to go to curie.live, and the join code will pop up, or a join code box will pop up. Punch that 5-digit code in there, and then it'll ask you to put your name in there. Put your name in there, and then it'll give you an anonymous name to go along with it. So we'll give everybody a minute to do that as well. Nine people are in the Curie pod. And the Curie pod event at the beginning is just going to kind of get demographics to know who's in here. Kind of, and then kind of have a little bit of feedback, a little bit of data for me. I like having data. So we have 9 people in here. In the session we have 23 people. So again, if you can, that'd be awesome. Please join the Curie Live. It's a think of it's a polling website. It's an interactive website, stuff I use in the classroom with students. So if you can, that'd be super awesome. Join the Curie Live, and then the join code is 38549. Can I put the link in the chat? I can put the link in the chat. The chat's disabled, so I'm not sure if you guys will see the chat or not. But it is curi.live. So curi.live. So if you can see the chat, it's in there now. No, it's not curious. Let's try that again. curi.live. Don't autocorrect. There you go. So curie.live. And we have 12 people in there. If you need it at some point, just go ahead and put it in. Put the bit.ly up again. Yes, I can do the bit.ly back up here in a second. It is, and I'll put that in the chat so we can see it. Underscore with underscore Canva. And it is case sensitive, so it's bit.ly scaffolding underscore with underscore Canva. Trying to keep that title as simple as possible for the bit.ly. It's not really an easier way to do that. So it is there now for Sharon. Looks like you asked me for the bit.ly again. And then so you have the curie.live, and then there is the bit.ly /scaffolding underscore with underscore Canva. And then the Curie live code is 38549. Give it like one more minute for people to join that, of those that want to join. All right, so this is what the Curie Live looks like. All right, so 38549, we have 16 people in. We're going to go ahead and get started with what we got for time's sake. All right, so first things first, please go ahead and for the Curie.live, put a grade group you are most associated with. If there's multiple, then go ahead and put that in there as well. Or you can't really put it in zero, just do the one you're most associated with. So if you do multiple groups, if you work with one group more, if you work with them all evenly, just pick one of them. So yeah, so we have 12 people voted already of 16. Give a couple more, 18 people in the Curie Live. Again, it's Curie Live, and then there's the pin 38549. I don't know if I can drop it in the queue. Let's see here. Answered. I don't know if I can drop it in the Q&A. Let's see here. Type answer. So here, I'll grab it here. Let's see, copy, and then type answer. Send. So that person that just asked for the link, I just sent it up there. Can you put the link in the chat again? Type in. I'll give you the link as well. Send. All right, so there you go. So we have a lot of K5, awesome. If you 6 of us is K through 8. We have a group of K12 and a group one person that's 9 through 12. Awesome. So let's go ahead and go to the next question, which is also going to be in Curie Live. So what position category are you most associated with? Just to kind of get where we're at, what position category are you most associated with? And if you end up needing the bit.ly, just go ahead and ask in the chat and I'll copy and paste it and send it to you. Oh, I got to click start. Sorry. Now we go ahead. What position category are you most associated with? This is my first time doing this virtual, so just please be patient with me. I'm going to do my best with it. So we're trying things. We're taking risks, taking chances. We're doing the Miss Frizzle thing, right? We're stepping on a limb, trying new things. Yeah, we don't, just like students, I don't learn, we don't learn. No one learns unless they're trying something new. And sometimes trying new things is risky. So I appreciate you all being along for the ride with me. All right, go ahead and if you haven't voted, got a couple people waiting for a vote. We're going to go ahead and 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. All right, awesome. Instructional support and classroom teacher, 100% of us between that. That's cool. All right. And what is your experience with Canva? Real quick, what is your experience with Canva? This will be interesting to see. Just based on me doing this virtually. Not sure of the range that we have here when it comes to locale. I know if I was doing this with my teachers or in my county, I know what the answer would be. Most of them have some experience with it, and this is applicable whether you have Canva or not. But I'm showcasing how it could be done with Canva. So we have 18. So I'm going to go ahead for time's sake, move this along. But we had 18 votes last time. I have experience, cool. So everybody has some kind of experience with Canva. All right, so let's get to the contents. We did that one. Yep, we did that one, and did that one. All right, so this is story time with Mr. Haslam. And I need to pull up my story. It's the one thing I forgot. We'll go do it. Sorry if I'm disjointed. I had everything set up in the backstage and then it all went away. Where's my story at? There it is. All right, so I'm going to read everybody a story. What I want you to do, I know it's hard virtual. I want everybody kind of close their eyes and kind of listen. Hopefully my voice is not soothing enough to go to sleep. But I kind of want to put you in kind of I just want to see what you feel, what you see when it comes to this story here. So here we go. The clock ticks softly in the background as your class settles down. Over the past week, you were introduced to a complex and sprawling topic in social studies, the age of exploration and its global impacts. As you think back, you remember that the presentation content was a whirlwind. Names of explorers, years, maps, trade routes, crisscrossing continents, and timelines of conquest flashing by in quick succession. You look down at your notes. They look complete and concise, even though you scribbled notes as fast as you could. But the connections between events and the larger implications of colonization, the content wasn't just about dates and places. It dove into the intricate web of economic systems, cultural exchanges, power dynamics. You heard words like mercantilism and imperialism and cultural assimilation, all hovering in the air, heavy and abstract. You understood the basics, that exploration led to the discovery of new lands, trade routes, more global accessibility. But the deeper consequences, the ripple effect of the voyages, still a bit foggy in your mind. As you think back, some of those connections, interactions, events, they seemed a bit blurry. If you're honest with yourself, maybe some of it slipped through your grasp, but there is more learning that will be going on today. Some clarity will be provided and connections will be made. You are sure there will be an activity that will help drive home the information. You are confident that it will all make a bit more sense. Just you're trying to wrap your head around it, the teacher announces the project. You knew one was on the horizon because your teacher said so. But now, this soon, you have no grasp on the content that was just taught through the teacher-led lecture that was slide after slide, bullet point after bullet point. He starts class by telling you that this project is going to be a major portion of your final grade. He tells you you are going to use a new digital tool called History EMAP. He seems excited. You can tell he has been looking forward to this. He explains that you'll create an interactive timeline of the age of exploration using History EMAP. But this isn't just dates and events. It's detailed and complex. You must map out the routes of at least 5 explorers, of your choice, of course, and explain their impact on the global trade of goods. You need to show how these expeditions impacted both Europe and the colonized regions. Your timeline must include interactive buttons revealing the learned content. On top of that, you'll embed images, video clips, and even add a voiceover to explain the content. You're thinking to yourself, why can't this just be a paper? I know I can stumble my way through one of those. To make it even more nerve-wracking, as if it's not bad enough, as if it's not complicated enough with the newly half-understood content and the new barely understood digital tool the teacher announced as if he is doing you a favor. And this is a group project. You and 3 other classmates have to work together, synchronizing your thoughts and content knowledge, creating timelines, videos, narrations, and agreeing on how to digitally present the learned content. Your peers look as anxious as you feel. The room is buzzing with quiet rumors of confusion. You feel extremely anxious, as if you ask yourself, how will this even begin to collaborate when no one seems to fully grasp the enormity of this task? You move to your assigned space of your group and you'll sit down there um, staring at one another, hoping someone is mentally in a state to take charge. You stare at your computer and forget everything about the short, disjointed overview tutorial that your teacher presented. History EMAP looks like it could be fun to use. Some of the sample projects the teacher showed looked cool, but you drew a blank. The only words that came to mind are, oh boy. So I'm gonna give that a second to kind of settle in, as you know, we kind of think, and I want you to go to CurryPod and I want you to answer this question as you think about it. So kind of think about it as if you are putting yourself in the position of that student, and I want you to give me how you feel. What's something that comes to mind? How do you feel with a task like that? So how did that experience make you feel is the question. So go ahead and give me a couple answers, or I think give you a couple options to type in there. What the experience make you feel? You're the student, the teacher standing up there. You've just learned some information. He's just giving you some information about this new tool, and now he comes up where you're going to do this very dynamic project, and you got to work in a group, and everything's new and everything's different and everything's kind of coming to you all at one time. And I know we don't have the chat open, but if you have an opinion, whether it be a thumbs up or thumbs down about that story, go ahead, just put it in the Q&A for me. Just that way I know, because I kind of wrote that and kind of put it together. So let's see what we got. So this is their word cloud. Didn't pay attention to it. Oh, I'm sorry. Group project. Frustrated. Overwhelmed is like the ginormous one. So it puts it, CurryPod puts it in there. The larger it is, the more times it was used or said. Stressed, lost, excited. Okay. Unprepared. Okay. Unfocused on the content. Okay. All right. Next question. Do you think this story actually portrays how how we use technology tools in the classroom? So does this portray something like a real world situation that you would see in a classroom, like as either a support staff, you as the teacher, from a student point of view? Do you think that this story portrays what real world situation kind of in the classroom? Or am I way off? Is that story like very fictional and not truthful or very far from kind of how it works? About 10 seconds left to vote. All right. Sometimes yes and one no. Okay. And again, this is me coming from my perspective, some stuff that I've seen. I am support staff now as a tech facilitator. I was in the classroom. All right, last one here. I think let's go back to these, make sure I'm where we're at, supposed to be at. Yep. All right, yep. All right. So last one here real quick. If someone used the phrase, today we're going to learn a new digital tool, what is the first thing that comes to your mind? So now we're just kind of stepping out of the story and into you. If you go into a PD, whether it be a county PD, whether it be a conference, maybe it's in a school PD, if someone says, today we're going to learn a new digital tool, what's the first thing that comes to your mind? And all of this should be setting us up for kind of what comes next here in a minute. And I promise I'm going to be showing some tools. There's a bunch of resources in the slides coming up. If you use the bit.ly, what's the Curie pin? The Curie pin is, it's up top there. It's 38549. So if the person asked what the Curie pin was, sorry, I just saw it. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right. Show. Ooh, excited. Hope for something new, additional, or replacing. Ooh, that's a good question. Are we adding on, or is it kind of replacing? Overwhelming? I'll try it. Time to use it. Excitement. Cool. Yikes. Purpose. Why? What are we? I have heard of. Okay. Anxious. Have I heard of it before? Yep. Ooh. All right. So mixed emotions when it comes to a new tech tool. I know quite often my teachers, those are a lot of their questions when it comes down to it. So we're back in the slides now. So what demographic, and we're just going to kind of think about this, what demographic do you normally associate with people that are struggling with new tech? And again, I kind of set this up where we could answer it in the chat in this one, but we're not going to be able to do that right now. So that kind of think, I'm assuming just from talking with people, quite often people associate with the younger person. Oh, they're young. When I'm helping a teacher with something, they're like, oh, I'm terrible. I'm too old. I've even heard that I'm older and I'm not good with this tech stuff. When it comes down to it, um, research shows that students struggle just like adults do. And can have the same mental blocks and hurdles. In a ASCD article from June 29th, it says, depending on the grading level, familiar with technology and academic subjects, students too are at a very level of comfortability using devices and platforms. And quite often this is directly associated with their digital divide. If a student has, whether it be experiences or the tools at home, they tend to be more comfortable. But if a student doesn't have, they don't have those experiences. But as adults, as teachers, sometimes we automatically say, oh, they're young, they should know, but they might not, which means that they can have some of the same mental boundaries or hiccups and barriers that we do. But does this mean that not to use technology? No. Does this mean new technology tools are bad? Absolutely not. Okay, so then the question is, what does this mean? Okay, So I've been reading a book, and I'll grab it for I have always have it with me. Called NeuroTeach. See, okay, you can't see it because of the background. Okay, NeuroTeach, and it's probably one of the best books I've read in a long time. And it talks about how great teachers need to be amygdala managers. And yes, we're talking about brain science here. The amygdala plays a key role in the brain system and acts as our emotional filter. And when we're under a lot of stress, and we as the teacher are responsible for some of the stress we apply in the classroom, and it acts as a filter when we have that stresses in front of us, and it decides then what to do, kind of like a switchboard. Okay. Our brains are consistently bombarded by sensory inputs more than are possible to process. So filtering is done before incoming information and or experiences get to areas like the prefrontal cortex where executive functioning and higher thinking take place, and the hippocampus where memory starts to begin. Okay. So it all starts at the amygdala, and then it chooses to send it to these places or not to send it to these places. The amygdala redirects our sensory intakes to our rear reactive brain where our fight, flight, or freeze response are embedded, and that response auto kicks in, and it's sometimes called downshifting in this brain science. However, when we're under no or low stress, the lymphatic system, which includes the amygdala, intakes it and process it to the prefrontal cortex and to the hippocampus, allowing students to learn, to think critically, to problem solve. And this is all based on the stresses and the bombardment of the amygdala. Okay. So it's important that we are managing the stresses that go in front of our students. Okay. So amygdala acts as our emotional filter, our switchboard for the brain. Do I put it to the fight, flight, or freeze part of the brain? Or do I pass this along so that we can think critically about stuff, learn from stuff, transport it to long-term memory? And that all happens in the amygdala as it's being bombarded from information. So in the book, they talk about this stuff, and it does not mean that we need to just provide no stress environment. It's about balancing stress and pushing students into their zone of proximal discomfort, which is this middle section here. Okay, so it's the idea of pushing them to a point of stress, but not over this point where they shut down and it goes to this fight, flight, or freeze part of their brain. Okay, and throughout a student's academic journey, teachers are professionally obligated. We are professionally obligated to push students into a stressful situation, but not too far into a stressful situation, which means we need to manage the stressors that are there. Okay. This means we cannot just avoid activities because they're difficult. Okay. Because we are responsible for this neural reorganization that's going on. And if we choose not to teach them because we're afraid they're going to be stressed, or we don't know how to manage the stress, then we're going to not reorganize their neural pathways in their brain for them to be able to be in a way to learn. So the question then is how? So we need to challenge students, but not cause stress to the point that they mentally shut down. Okay. Learning new things is stressful, even for you, me, adults, kids. It doesn't matter. It's still stressful. So again, how? So there, okay. So factors that reduce stress that lead to critical thinking. So these are things that lead to it being transported to the hippocampus and prefrontal cortex. Choice, novelty, humor, movement means being up out of their seat and doing something, being told a story, achieving their challenges, even if they're simple, like you setting up a situation where I know they're going to be successful at this. Let me pretend like they're all achieving this. They all then have a win for that day in order to move it. So it's about lowering that barrier, but not the bar, which means we need to keep the bar here for learning, but we need to lower some of the barriers. And that's where I think scaffolding tech tools can come in. Okay. Think back to the story, and what would have lowered the stress for you? The student. Change activity. If that change activity was not the option, would it have been you knowing more about the tech tool, having some experience doing something simple instead of bringing out this tech tool right at the beginning and going, bam, here you go, tech, here it is, and then you getting overwhelmed? Okay. So here is, so I'm going to jump this. So this is some data from my school, and it shows, and I understand there's a lot of arguments whether learning styles is important or not important. Okay. But with that being said, is that most of the students in this 6th, 7th, 8th grade learn kinesthetically, which means we need to have that somewhere in our stuff. But what I've seen over the years is quite often that's the first thing removed, is the getting up, doing something, or getting the hands on something. Okay. I'm actually going to skip these just for time's sake so we can get to the other stuff. Okay. So when you hear the word scaffolding, we often think of like math and where you talk about like, all right, we need to know how to add and subtract before we get to equations. Okay. So this is kind of the idea, is that we can scaffold tech tools, and quite often the simple things that should be there are removed because of time. So intro activities, and all of these are linked. So if you're on the slides, all of these link to examples. So something as simple as doing an intro activity, an all about me poster. Yeah, you learn your students, but your students learn a tech tool. They get comfortable with Canva. They get comfortable specifically with Canva because that's what I'm talking about here today. Okay. What about doing this? This is something that me and my group of EduGuardians did, where you do a wall locker and they make stickers and they grab stickers going into Canva. You can search stickers and it'll give you a bunch of different stickers, and they can make a locker and put stickers all over it. They have to do it them. Okay. What about if a vocabulary book? So if I was teaching 7th grade science, I would have them be doing a vocabulary book every unit. You need to pick 7 vocabulary words, and at the end of each unit, vocabulary books do. So here's an example one I made on force and motion. Them putting the definition and images gives their brain something mentally to connect the vocabulary word to, while it is while they're learning Canva. And I guarantee you, every time they do another one, they will learn how to use it better. How about just simple posters? Me and a 8th grade class did this when I was subbing one time, and they were working on Revolutionary War stuff, and they were talking about taxes and the blockades. And so we made some posters using Canva's AI image generator in order to create some posters. Simple, but every time they use it, they become more comfortable with it. So that ultimately, when we start getting to more complicated tasks, so here's a character spotlight idea. And again, all of these are linked, so you can see kind of the project in full screen. As you then get to more complex tasks, it's not completely new, but the task is still novel. The task is still creative. So here's the idea of a slow motion video. It wants to come up with the diary still. It still wants to do a diary. Why not? Nope, still wants to do a diary. It'll be linked later. I don't know what's going on with this thing now. All right, so here is a breaking news one. So think if this is on, and I'll just play it.
In a groundbreaking discovery, I have identified a thriving community of single-celled bacteria in a pristine lake. These microscopic organisms, known as bacteria, play a vital role.
So doing something as simple as an audio recording and having them do that when you're talking about single-celled organisms in 7th grade science, or talking about layers, or talking about a character in a book. Again, they're simple things, but every time you do something, you can add them. And as you add them and build them and scaffold them, you now create new opportunities that you can add in to later projects. Here's one that I did where it is
In shadows deep, where secrets lie, there walks a man with a watchful eye. Man on fire, mystery untold. In whispers hushed.
So imagine now you say, not only are we going to do a poem, but I want you to create some album art to go with that poem. And then I have a template that I put together, and Canva's done some very similar ones now with their frames, where you can then put it what looks like a phone. Okay. So this would be a poem. You could do infographics with or without embedded links. Okay. So all of these would link to different videos that you could create or your students could create when you're doing a review project. But again, if I were to tell you you're going to do an infographic, you're going to embed links or embed videos, but you have never done anything like that before, now we're back to the idea at the beginning of the video where you're just stacking new content, new tool, new tasks, groups, and you're just building up what would be these huge levels of stressors that many of them could have been avoided. And it's not that you need to avoid all of them, but you can avoid some of them. And it's about managing those things that you could avoid. It's about starting basic with foundational skills and building to more complex, but they all use the foundational skills they've built. I mean, this should sound similar, just like we do in ELA or math. It's about going from simple, fun, but often forgotten ideas. How often you go, man, I'm going to do these about us and introductory activities, and then all of the tasks come down, and what's the first thing to go? All the introductory fun activities. Building to assessment based, but often overwhelming for students, and some students might grab them, but other students, you start building, they've lost you because they've become overwhelmed in their brain. It's not they can't do it, it's that their brain has took it from their amygdala and put it to their fight, flight, or freeze, and their brain has told them they can't do it and they've given up on themselves. Instead of turning it and going, you know what, let me think critically through this. I know all this other stuff already. I've used this tool. This is second nature. Now let me add the new content to it. And this is something that I wish that I would have done when I was in the seventh grade science classroom within it. So we got to lower the barrier, but not the bar. We have to still challenge our students. We have to still assess them, and not just assessments that are multiple choice. We still have to have them doing stuff, building stuff, because as that slide earlier showed, that they're kinesthetic learners. They need to learn stuff those ways. And if they don't, then they're gonna not remember the content. One of the things the book talks about is that if the students really know the content, we should be testing them at the beginning of the next school year. Because that means not only did they learn it, but they retained it. Now, I know that's not realistic, it's not what's gonna happen, nor do I believe it should happen. But true learning happens where you can hold on to content. Not, we learned it a month ago and now we need to do a review on it because they forgot all about it. We need to lower the barrier, but not the bar. We need to keep this stuff very rigorous, but we need to remove some of the stuff, or do our best to remove some of the barriers, the stressors from the situation in order to set the students up for success. Okay, so here's some other activities, and all these are linked. I have a Monster Town genetics one that I've done. I have a Greek gods one that I do with my sixth grade. Here's a Hunger Games character development. Think about who would your character be if you were in the Hunger Games making a new character. And then this is one of my favorite ones that I just recently did called My If. It's based off the movie. And the idea is that the girl can see all the forgotten friends of, like, imaginary friends, and she has to pair them back up with people. Is having your students, man, what would your if look like? What would your imaginary friend look like? And so all of these are digital dashboards. So my question to you is, what are some other activities you could apply in the classroom to scaffold learning experiences? Again, I thought the Q&A or the chat would be open. It's not. But with that being said, I want you just to think, what are some other activities you could apply in the classroom to scaffold learning experiences? Um, Again, it's not about not doing stuff. And honestly, some of these stuff, like the Monster Town genetics or the Greek god one specifically, I had a student still giving me and turning in stuff regarding his Greek god unit 2 weeks after it was already turned in and graded. The teacher kept having to tell him to stop working on it. And this is something that's not one of those students that, oh my goodness, tech is definitely his alley, he's always working on stuff. This was a student that doesn't really do much in that classroom. And he was still sharing stuff with me 2 weeks later because he not only made his Greek god, he made his Greek god's pet, which was like this lava hound dog. He made the Greek god's weapon and came up with the whole concept and story for the Greek god when he only had to do a backstory for it and develop the Greek god itself. So, I mean, stuff like that is just, it warms my heart, it warms my soul because the student is having fun learning. And ultimately, we want them to have fun, and learning happens even more so when students are having fun than when they're sitting there bored. One of the other biggest points of the book is that boredom is a learning killer. Students, it triggers the same part of the brain when a student is bored that the fight, flight, and freeze part of the brain triggers, which means that if a student's bored, they're not going to be set up mentally, literally, scientifically, mentally in a state to learn. And I can't tell you how many times my daughter would come home from school when she was in middle school and go, Dad, I'm so bored. And it's not that it's about entertaining students. It's not about always having to have a dog and pony show. And there's times they do boring stuff in their mind. I mean, heck, there's a lot of stuff that we have to do as adults that's boring. but are there ways that we can get them engaged, get them doing stuff, get them into a situation where they get to be creative, they get to learn new things without adding additional extra stressors that are unnecessary, opening up the ability for them to learn. So that is what I have regarding scaffolding tech tools. If you have any questions for me, please put them in the Q&A. I'll do my best to answer them out loud. Hopefully this kind of like I was talking to a student, or I was talking with a student, and she goes, man, I wish I had a little bit more time to work on something because I I feel like I didn't have enough time, and I wish I knew this tool because I would have done better at it. And I'm like, oh my goodness, you were set up for failure because of what I did, because this is the first time you're seeing it, and what I was doing was all the way up here. But the idea of building our tools and being diligent, being intentional about what we do versus just unknowingly, even with the best in our heart in mind, unknowingly putting them in a situation that they're kind of set up for failure a little bit just because of how we set it up, even though we're so excited about the project we worked so hard on, like the teacher in that story. But yet we forgot the simple things that we need to set them up for success. And now you have students that aren't being successful because of something we did. And that's on us as a teacher. That's on me. And so that's kind of what I have. Hopefully it was enlightening. Hopefully it was fun. Hopefully you learned stuff. It goes till 4:45, so I'll be here for another like 5 minutes if you have any questions. Thank you for your time. Um, yeah, if you have any questions, please throw them in the Q&A. I'll be happy to answer them. If you need the bit.ly for this, all of these are linked. I don't know why the soccer one wasn't linked. So I can try to pull that up if y'all want me to. The soccer slow motion one. That's a fun one too. So throw stuff in the chat. If not, hopefully have a fun session. I'll be back on Thursday with another one, different than scaffolding, more about let's see, I have another one this week as well. So it's so just check on Twitter. Here I'll pull it up. Let's see what I got here. Thursday is creating one-of-a-kind learning adventures with Canva AI image generator. So if that's something you want to do and learn about, that's what I'll be doing on Thursday. So that'll be Thursday at 4 o'clock, same time, same place, different day. So that'll be Thursday. So thank you for your time. Thanks for being here. I hope you enjoyed. Hope you learned something. Hopefully it was enlightening. If you have any thoughts, please email me. And yeah, so thanks. I appreciate y'all. And again, if you have a question, I'll hang out for a little bit. Can you send post link to presentation? Absolutely. Here, I'll go ahead and put it back up here on the big screen so everybody sees it. So there's the bit.ly for it for the PD. So bit.ly/scaffolding _with_Canva. It is case sensitive. Yeah, I've always found that math is probably one of the hardest ones when it comes to tech integration with stuff like this. But so I was using this, stepping outside of Canva. Me and a math teacher were using Suno AI to create some math songs. It's kind of fun. But even if they create a poem about math stuff, or doing something where they have to like generate an image, and it's got like a building that's a parallelogram, or I'm not a math teacher, so please excuse me, a cube, or a trapezoid, or whatever it might happen to be, something that gets them doing something with it is always fun. So yeah, that's definitely one of my weaknesses, is the math and tech integration when it comes to Canva. And that's something I'm trying to challenge myself to venture into a little bit more. So yeah. Let's see. How do you get the C used for this training? I'm assuming that because it's run by NCTIES, they might have something. That'd be a question for them. I have not been given any guidance on the CEUs. So I can always reach out and ask. But that would be a question for the NCTIES. I know that NCTIES, when we go to the conferences, they give you like a blank outline, and then you fill it in on which ones you went to. So the answer is I don't know that question. So that's for a couple people that asked me that. Yes, I would email NCTIES or message them through Twitter. Is probably how I would also go about it. Is message them through Twitter, or ask them in a chat on one of the things. And but I will try to find out as well. So I do not have the answer to that question though about CEUs for it. But yes, NCTIES is really good at getting back with you. That's what I would go do and see what their process is for this virtual one. But I know for in the face-to-face one, they give you a blank like Google Docs that you fill in, and then you add it, and then you submit it through however your county does it. I know our county, we have it to submit it through a portal, and then it has to be approved and that kind of stuff for outside PD. So that's what I would do. Any other questions? Please feel free to contact me. Let's see here. Do I still have it open? Oh, oh, oh. Like 3 times. Please feel free to contact me, email me, message me. I normally let's go back here to the main one. So if you need my contact information, I'll throw it up there as well. I normally have this rotate in the beginning, but it was a little bit interesting. So there's my contact stuff. Hopefully that helps. If y'all have any questions, email me, contact me. It's khasm@harnett.k12.nc.us. Follow me on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. I don't make any money off of it. That's just how my PLN works. Um, and that's how I learn from other people. I'm not going to take any credit for anything that I've talked about today because there's always a group of people teaching me stuff too. So yeah. Anybody else? You are more than welcome. I'm glad I could be here and help and just share a little bit of what I've learned. That's all this is. This is me learning and going, you know what? I need to share this because if it does very little good just for me to learn it and think about it if I don't share it with people. That's all I want to do. So again, hopefully see some people Thursday at 4 o'clock as well. I know there's some stuff going on at 7 o'clock tonight, and then Wednesday and Thursday, 4 and 7, 4 and 7. So, all right, I am getting off of here because I got to go to my son's soccer practice as well. All right. Well, thank you all for being here. I'm going to end session now. So, thank y'all.